right. Welcome to the Ultra High Net Worth Clients Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Broadhead. We started this podcast as a way to create a central resource of the best wealth advisor practice growing tips shared by the most outstanding wealth advisors in the industry, of which our guest today is definitely one. These outstanding wealth advisors agree to be on the show and provide a ton of value for free, all in the hopes that our audience might learn from their words. My father was a financial advisor, and financial advisors are the main clients we serve. So my marketing agency's mission is to help every financial advisor grow their business in an effort to help the world become more financially secure. Today, we have the rare pleasure of talking with an incredible wealth advisor, Shawn Ballinger. Shawn, can you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah, no, thanks. Thanks for having me, Chris. Appreciate being here. I founded Columbus Street Financial Planning back officially May 1st of 2019 after spending about the preceding 15 years with two great firms here in Columbus, Ohio, and kind of had an itch to kind of do it on my own. And so I did that and with 0 clients. And, I've grown my firm now to about 75 wealth management clients in the last, 5 years or so. And really just kind of eschewed the kind of 1% assets under management model. It's 1% for a lot of firms, maybe 1.5 or 2% for some out there. But just kind of with the idea that flat fee arrangement for all my clients really makes the most sense. And that way I can meet kind of younger clients where they're at. So I don't really need necessarily $2 million to manage to be profitable. I can help them with planning.
Mm-hmm.
But then I also work with a lot of retired and, several ultra high net worth clients, and a flat fee for them just makes sense. And so that's really the story. Started in this business back in really 1999, September of 99. On what was then the Bank One mutual fund trading desk that quickly became JP Morgan in 2003. And so learned a lot there, and then became a CFP in 2005 and went into independent wealth management, like I said, with my first firm in 2005. And so 7 great years with them, and then moved on to another bigger firm working with, definitely more affluent, ultra high net worth clients. And like I said, left there in 2019 to found my firm.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And you went from 0 to 75 clients in 5 years. Did I understand that correctly?
I did.
That's incredible.
Yeah. I think maybe some firms out there are maybe hyper focused on growth and maybe have grown faster from 0 clients. But what I would say, and it's I hate to say it, but I think the pandemic was probably the best thing. And, I just maybe got lucky with some rather unfortunate timing for all of us, but it was good for my practice. I really I think I maybe had 5 clients at the beginning of January of 2020. And I think by the end of 2020, I had basically 25 clients and, was definitely profitable at that point. And, so I just kind of grew and spawned from there. And, I've had a lot of, organic referrals through current clients. And then people have just found the flat fee structure as it's becoming more well known. And I think that has definitely helped as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's amazing. So how did you kind of get in front of these folks? How did you get on their radar?
To be honest with you, I had a couple of, great friends and COIs that I've, obviously known for, 20 years here, being in Columbus and rooted in the financial planning community. I was chapter president of our Financial Planning Association chapter here in Central Ohio for a couple of years and was on the board. And so just knew a lot of people and had those lunches and coffees. And, got a lot of great referrals from them. And then, it just kind of blew up from there.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That's awesome. And when you left your previous firm, was the flat fee part of the plan from the beginning?
It wasn't. I thought originally that I would do some sort of kind of flat planning fee, excuse me, and then some sort of AUM. But I think it took me about a year, somewhere about mid 2020. I was using a TAMP, which I wasn't unhappy with, but I kind of understood portfolio construction, and I didn't want to add that cost as a burden to my clients. And so I kind of separated from them amicably, of course, but really about mid 2020, I'm like, let's just do a flat fee and price it on complexity. There is kind of a assets under management component to it. Someone with 5 million is probably going to pay a little bit more than someone with 2 million. But I just found that flat fee I'm not a salesman. I think that's the joke among CFPs is that none of us want to be salesmen or salespeople, excuse me. But it's just easy to communicate. Like, that's the fee. My fee is not going to go up because the market went up. And so I think when I redid my ADVs, spring of 2021, I went to that flat fee structure completely.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, we've had we've interviewed, I don't know, over 130 fiduciaries, financial advisors. They're called by many names. And I think we've had one other guy who, kind of went outside the 1%. He charged, I think, 0.5% or 0.25%. Oh, I'm sorry, we had two. Another who just he just charged like a financial planning fee.
Right.
So that's an interesting, exciting development. How do you think that has impacted your business and your growth and your ability to find new clients?
I think it's been a positive. I take clients through kind of a discovery process, or prospective clients, and kind of understand where they're at. I know some flat fee advisors out there, it's just a flat fee whether you have, no matter where you're at, right? Whether you have 500,000 or 5 million. I don't kind of ascribe to that simple of a flat fee structure, but I think once I spend an hour with a prospective client and get to know their situation, and I can kind of price it to where they're at. And, I guess the best examples are stories. My most recent client who's onboarding actually this week, they talked to me 6 months ago, and I said, this is the flat fee. And I quoted them, flat $6,500 a year, young physicians, about $1 million portfolio. And they took their time, and I follow up once or twice over a 30 to 90 day interval. And then if, clients don't, or prospects don't respond, that's fine. But they reached out in kind of mid-December, and we sat down for an hour in early January, and, they had went through the interview process of the 1% AUM. And, by that time, it became pretty easy for me to kind of sell my services with comprehensive wealth management, financial planning, portfolio management at Schwab, just for one, kind of flat fee that typically ends up being less than 50% of what a traditional AUM advisor is going to charge them.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And as far as your niche or the types of folks that you like to work with, is that like are you consciously tuned into that? Do you kind of cast a wide net? Is there a specific type of person or profession or demographic that you find yourself serving or purposely tune into?
Yeah. I know that's obviously been the buzzword for the last, half dozen years. You've got a niche, there's obviously niche advisors in Texas that work with professional bass fishermen, what have you. I decided not to go down that route. I like working with people from all walks of life. I'd say if I have a target, definitely young professionals, more likely in their late 30s to early 50s, that have household income of probably, at least $400,000 to $500,000. But no, do I specialize just, with any one particular subset of of clients or population. I don't, I have, retired teachers with $3 million, and I have, business owners, that are on their ramp with $4 million of revenue and a $500,000 portfolio. And so it just, I'm willing to work with anyone that sees the value in the services that I provide, but I don't, not really looking for any particular client. Just, does the relationship make sense? Can I add value? And I kind of keep it that simple.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Gotcha. And then, you know, I think it's like a flaw in our thinking where you're like, okay, 1%, that sounds less than $6,400 a year. Is there a specific way you kind of explain that where you're like, well, actually, you're gonna see significant value and savings by just having this flat fee structure?
Yeah, if we need to kind of get down to brass tacks and kind of comparing a flat fee structure to an AUM model, I'd say, one of my ultra high net worth clients, and this is what I typically find when I do acquire a new ultra high net worth client. They typically have 2 or 3 advisors. So we're dealing with, 2 or 3 larger brokerage houses that are charging 1%, if not more. And then what I can do is I can say, you're paying, $35,000 to $40,000 between all of your, AUM kind of brokerage house advisors. And a lot of times my fee is going to be somewhere between $10,000 and $15,000 in a flat fee structure, and I can help them manage all that, lower their cost of advice, and in a lot of cases lower their cost of investing too, just through
Mm-hmm.
low cost passive ETF structures and smart active strategies.
Mm-hmm. Got it. I mean, you're a smart guy. You're a likable guy. You're an incredibly hardworking fella. I imagine, folks want to work with you because they like you and respect you and know, how much you can help them. And then the flat fee, they're like, oh, like if they're considering someone else, I guess they're just like, well, no, I'm gonna go with you.
Yeah, that's true. I think, I think my most recent experience was yesterday, in working with another ultra high net worth client that's been a client now for 2 years. And, just through working with her, and, she said it yesterday. She's like, you provide me so much value. You educate me. And I think, I think that's what a good advisor does. Right. And I tell people that in clients, 50% of what I do is education. My job is to lay out the facts for you, and, you wrap your goals and values around that. Um, in this particular case, I did have an inflation adjustment on her fee, which I have been gradually increasing flat fee structures. I didn't do that for the first 4 years. I began that last year, and I've had clients honestly just tell me, we were waiting for you to increase your fee, and, no one's kind of batted an eye. And so then, right, if you listen to other podcasts, you kind of wonder, well, should I have increased it further? But, I'm comfortable going in that it's right for them and it's right for me, and it's the fair way to work with clients.
Hmm. Do you have like a specific way that you um raise your fee? Does it raise, with inflation? Is there or is it kind of just like, it's time to raise it?
Yeah, I think it's how much time does the client demand from me?
Mm-hmm.
You could have two $5 million client portfolios or households, so to speak. One is happy to meet with you twice a year, kind of takes all your recommendations, implements them, is really easy to work with. And then you could have another client where, there's constant communication and questions. And so it is a little bit of an eyeball test, and just, looking back and saying, how much of my time am I giving? I don't have an exact formula. But what I would say is, I think now, going into my 6th year in practice, I do have kind of a master spreadsheet of, okay, what's the fee been since they've been clients? And being perfectly honest, I think I'll probably be on an every 3-year cadence with every client, to just look at the fee and assess and make sure it's right. I think a lot of times that'll be some sort of just simple inflation adjustment. But if their situation's gotten more complex, or, you know, having a lot of, 40, 50 something clients, they're going to inherit, and they understand if there's a material capital injection into the portfolio, your fee's going to adjust, somewhat to where you're at.
Mm, yeah, got it, got it. What is your feeling on the flat fee model in terms of the future of the wealth management space? Do you think that model, will be more common, is growing?
I do. I am a member of XY Network, XYPN. I see a lot more advisors kind of going to it. No pun intended. I think as the world becomes more flat and information's more known, I think and not to pick on the 1% AUM advisor, but if a client's paying you $20,000 to manage, $2 or $2.5 million, you really got to justify that with a lot of value, right? And I think it will grow. There's a lot of advisors out there that don't want it to change for obvious reasons, but I think kind of my DNA in moving to the flat fee is, you can be really financially successful, running a 1% AUM shop or whatever that looks like. But I think just from my perspective, we're not performing brain surgery, and, should advisors be making, $1 to $1.5 million a year, because I think at some point, if I'm being honest, I think it's a transfer of wealth from the client's pocket to the advisors. And, I can make a really good living and support my family and live a nice life without, excess or extravagance, with the flat fee model. And, I've kind of proven that. And I know other flat fee advisors out there probably feel the same way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a interesting way to look at it, and yeah, I'm sure your clients, really appreciate you having their best interests. Yeah, that's really great. So you mentioned previously, you were the head of an organization, and you met some clients that way. Do you have any other kind of recommendations or strategies on how you kind of meet and build relationships organically and in a non-salesy way to find new clients?
I not really knowing what marketing was when I went out on my own. I kind of still struggle with marketing. I think, quite honestly, it's just being genuine. Obviously, I have, kind of a wide net of attorneys and CPAs here in Columbus that I've, gotten to know and have great relationships with. But, again, maybe another simple story. I had a client asked me to participate in a high school college fair. And I said, sure, I had time, and I didn't think anything of it. I would never have thought, I was just there to, help, juniors and seniors explore career opportunities and tell my story and say, hey, if you're interested in financial, advising, consider becoming a CFP and a fiduciary and all those things. And lo and behold, some parents stopped by, and, they asked for my information. I didn't even have business cards. That tells you how, much of a salesman I am. And they contacted me 3 or 4 weeks later, and we met in person, and, they became clients in January. So, as far as marketing, I have social media, and my website, I think, looks pretty reasonable. It's 5 years old already, so I think it needs an upgrade. But, I find a lot of clients find me through networks, fee only network, and just through general search engine, where my office is located in Dublin, Ohio.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll say for a person such as yourself who claims to not be, a salesman, you've certainly done some amazing selling in the last 5 years.
Yeah. I would say if we had those initial kind of potential client meetings recorded, they would have been probably pretty awkward. No one likes to watch themselves be recorded anyway, but I have gotten better at it. And, in your first year of practice and you don't have a whole lot of clients, you attend a lot of webinars and you do a lot of research and reading on, how to get people over the hump of, wanting to hire you. And I've got my, you know, 1-page document of cheat sheet on just, kind of things to help guide the conversation and questions asked during that process, which I think has helped me a lot. I don't even need to look at it anymore. I've got it down pat. But yeah, it is part of the process, right? Because I do everything. From sales to compliance to portfolios to planning to estate planning and tax and all those things. So yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, that's that's awesome. Can you tell me a little bit about your work with at-risk children in the community through the Kiwani Club of Columbus?
Yeah. So I've been a Kiwanian since 2012, I believe. So now going on 13 years. So we're just a civic organization, kind of like Rotary or Lions Club, and we spend a lot of time in the community helping at-risk children. We do a lot of other good things, such as serve meals to people that need a hot meal. We build furniture once a quarter for women trying to leave women and children trying to leave abusive relationships. So it's helped me stay grounded, doing what we do and the privilege of working with high net worth clients. And what I would say is I think almost all my clients are, aware of the situation that they're in and are appreciative of it. But, I think we can take for granted, there's a whole nother part of the world out there that's not as fortunate. And so my affiliation with the Kiwanis Club has been awesome. I've had to step away now that the practice has gotten a lot busier. But we do a lot of great things in the greater Central Ohio community.
Hmm. Wow, that's amazing. Thank you for giving back, man. I love that. I hope to start up a similar practice here soon and give back to my community that I love so much.
Well, I'm a little biased, but I would say there's probably a Kiwanis chapter, probably somewhere close to your community.
Mhm.
I would look at them first. I know Rotary is another, very similar organization. They do a lot of, great work as well. So, but
Mhm.
yeah, I encourage that. And our club is not demanding. We can kind of fade in and out as, life happens. And, but it's been a great way to give back to the community for sure.
Mhm. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Awesome, Shawn. We're coming towards the end of our time together. I have one final question for you. It's an
Okay.
open-ended question. You can take it in any direction that you like.
Okay.
That question that question is, what are you working towards?
What am I working towards? Um,
Can be
well,
anything.
yeah, I think I'd probably leave this kind of maybe business related. Now with 75 clients, I'm probably reaching that pain point where I need to hire someone. I've
Mhm.
got an offer out for an intern position this summer, which I'm hopeful that this person will take. Um, so I think what I'm working on is just, where do I go from here? There are a lot of, kind of solo advisors who just kind of reach where they want to be. And, maybe through client attrition and new client acquisition, they grow in that fashion. But I'm really taking 2025 to, really understand, do I, want to hire a paraplanner? I've got a lot of great people around me. I've got compliance and marketing, and I've hired a CPA who helps me with my taxes, of course, and tax planning and things of that nature. So I've got people around me, compliance as well too. But I think the big thing on the plate this year that I'm working towards is, when is the right time, and how to bring on help to, help facilitate day-to-day planning activities, client interaction, things of that nature.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. It's exciting. Bring it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's exciting, but it's one thing to work for yourself and control your own day, but to manage people, as we all know, is a totally different animal.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It can be challenging and also very rewarding.
That's right.
Yeah. Awesome. Where can my audience find out more about you, Shawn?
Yeah, you can find me obviously on my website. Just search Columbus Street Financial Planning. I've got a Facebook page, and I think I also have a Instagram page out there. We don't do a lot of social media. I kind of struggle with that and the purpose of it, but I think that's kind of the easiest way to find me. You'll also find me on XY Planning Network's search page for an advisor, and also on Fee Only Network as well. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, Shawn, thank you so much for taking the time out of your not only your busy schedule, but your busy season right now. You're working sun up to well past sundown this time of the year. So really appreciate, some of your experience and expertise and wisdom and knowledge, sharing your time and knowledge with us, man. I learned a bunch, and you're a real one. You genuinely care about your clients, and I think that comes through in everything you do. So thanks for being you, my man.
Well, Chris, I sincerely appreciate that. Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, awesome. It's been my pleasure as well. To all our listeners out there, thank you so much for tuning in, and keep on growing out there, everybody.